A very cordial welcome. Welcome to Salt Bake Patient Profiles.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you mentioned just a moment ago, Mica, that you've never really shared your story. So where would you like to begin? Could we maybe start with where your journey began, your cannabis recovery journey, the wellness of it all?
Well, my story began in 2005. I had tried marijuana a couple of times at parties when I was younger, but I was a parent and I didn't think that it was fair to make my children responsible for my choices. So I waited until my youngest was 18 and I gave it a try and I liked it. It seemed a good alternative to alcohol. I'm not a drinker, but it's nice to have. I always envied people who could sit down and have a glass of wine at the end of the day. You know.
So, what were the medical reasons that you sought out cannabis?
My husband, so many people I knew with just horrible opiate stories. And my husband really, after 20 years off and on of opiates, he was really having a problem with the effects of opiates. I also knew someone who died from an accidental overdose.
Sorry to hear that.
Covered by her doctor. I've known several people who were younger and getting into the medicine cabinets of their parents who actually went to heroin. Probably 4 or 5 people, that then were addicted to heroin. My husband has a great deal of pain. And when he started researching medical marijuana, and it's been 7 years ago, and he started researching medical marijuana, and he got off all of his opiates and all of the other medications that they add to that over the years, gabapentin and Ambien and Klonopin. He was just really over-medicated. And when he went to medical cannabis, I saw a really big difference in him.
Right. You're hearing that a lot.
Yeah. And so we, when I heard, and I would sit down and show it. I don't know what's happening with my Zoom.
Well, it's just fine. We can hear you fine. Yeah, everything's okay.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
You know, and I would occasionally partake, you know. Like I say, I like to equate it to a glass of wine at the end of the day.
Sure. Understood.
As soon as I heard that they were collecting signatures, I was on the telephone to UPC and I was emailing UPC. I need packets. And I was constantly filling them up and asking for more packets. My husband had made me a sign, a stick for my sign, and I would go down to Riverdale Road and just walk it by myself, and people would pull over all the time. Roy on the corner of Riverdale Road and 1900 down in Clinton, at busy areas. And then I ran into Pam Harrison, who I'd known like 20 years before.
All right. So that means you're a Utah native.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, okay.
A few years out of state. But it's home, and I came back. It's just a beautiful state, and there's nowhere like it. Once I started gathering signatures, like I say, I ran into Pam Harrison, and I started hearing about events and people setting up tables, and everybody in the whole process of this were really helpful. We started coordinating. I need help with an event, and started coordinating with them. And then I met Mario. We got kicked out of the Riverdale Walmart together.
What for?
Well, I had done my paperwork with Walmart, and I don't think that they were aware of what I was collecting signatures for. Somebody made a complaint.
Oh, I see.
And so the management came out and kicked us out. And the gentleman that made the complaint, it was really a good story. He made the complaint, and people were running up to the table as we were loading up, wanting to sign the petition. Once we got it on the ballot, that was really exciting. I did some committee meetings up at Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this time I really had, before my husband brought cannabis into the house, I really had a pretty serious anxiety disorder. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I really challenged myself during all of this. And it helped to go home and sit down and chill.
Mm-hmm.
So then we came into the signs, and I just never really thought of myself. I had one knee replacement, and I needed a second one, but I pushed that knee and pushed that knee and pushed that knee until the campaign was over. I really didn't think of myself because I handle pain well. And someone told me recently that you do handle pain well, but you still have pain.
Mm-hmm.
What would it be like not to need to handle it? So I thought about it, and I went to a QMP. And
where did you go? Do you recall?
Yeah, I went to a doctor down in Clinton. I don't know. They're so busy at QMPs. I don't even know if I should share where, but I went to a doctor down in Clinton who was a QMP, and I got my medical card. And I was really happy because I've developed osteoarthritis in my shoulder. And it's a constant thing. And I started experimenting, not with the chill, but with the medical aspects.
Understood.
And it does make a difference. And it's not about smoking enough to get the chill. It's really about microdosing. And I just really found a good way. I take a lot of medications anyway, and I don't want to take like ibuprofen and acetaminophen and whatnot. And cannabis is not processed through your liver as harsh as medication, as the pills are. And so I went and got my medical card, and I'm excited. I will make my first purchase tomorrow.
Congrats.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited. I'm very excited. I've been to most Northern Utah openings with my friends. Invited before they opened to, take a tour and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah, so, I'm going to go down to Bountiful, down to Wholesome Co., and make my first purchase tomorrow. I'm just really excited.
Right. So in the time that you've kind of experienced and came to know cannabis, I mean, what specific benefits is it night and day? I mean, you mentioned pain relief. The shoulder, the knee replacement. So walk us through what that's like and without cannabis, and then what is it like with cannabis?
Well, my first knee was without cannabis, and it took me longer to rehabilitate. I went through physical therapy, and I rehabilitated really quick. I'm a very good healer, but it did take me longer. With my second knee, I used cannabis. I did not take any opiates. They were prescribed, but I didn't take any because I didn't need them. I found that one, I don't even know what we call them anymore, but I took one toke when I woke up. about 3 or 4 hours later, I would just take one more, and I was up and walking up and down the street much faster than I was the first time.
Wow.
The shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
say that's pretty recent, just the last couple of months, but it's just a constant pain radiates down my arm.
Sorry to hear that, Mica.
Well, it's one of the facts getting older. I'm looking at 60, and I'm sure that I'm going to find more things as I go down the road. But I have used cannabis. Like I say, for me, it takes one hit. The pain just dissipates. It's really works. It really works.
So as yet, Mica, you haven't really tried or experimented with the other forms, the gelatinous cubes, or maybe the tinctures or the topical ointments that are available?
Only through friends. Only through friends.
Any CBD products that you can buy locally off the shelf? Have you tried any of those?
I have tried them. Friends have had them, and I've tried them. When we went to Heber City to close out that county with enough signatures, a friend had some, and I tried it on my knee, and it was very, very helpful. It was a topical cream.
Sure.
And I did find it very helpful. I have tried an edible, and I just do not like them.
Interesting.
It is so hard to dose, and if you eat too much and you don't know if you're eating too much, it could depend on the food on your stomach that you have already, or I don't like the edibles. I find them very difficult to dose.
Understood.
So I prefer the flower. Yeah.
Right. Now, speaking of dosing, Mica, do you use an IQ or a Digi device that will help you control your dosing?
I don't know what that is.
Excellent. So when you go into Wholesome Co tomorrow, I would ask them about Digi devices. They're devices you can use that will allow you to control your dosage much more specifically.
See, this is a new thing because I kind of got out of it when we voted it in. And just looking at it yesterday, so much has changed, and we know so much more than we did 4 years ago. This is incredible. It's no, I had no idea that there was a device like this. Yeah, I know that we use Dragonfly too. Which is really awesome, and I know about that because I want it to be legal, because being legal was one of the biggest concerns of mine.
Sure.
I wanted it legal.
You're not alone in that concern, Mica, not at all.
Yeah.
Many people find themselves concerned about that. That's one of the reasons we want to share your story and why cannabis is working well in your life, to elevate your wellness. So I'm wondering, was the process of getting your card difficult? Did you find any difficulty in it, or was it pretty easy for you?
Finding a QMP was the most difficult part.
Really? And where do you live?
I live in Roy.
In Roy, okay. Where's Roy? Sorry.
Near Ogden.
Ogden, okay, north, okay.
Yeah, Weber County.
Got it.
Yes, it was very difficult to find an affordable QMP. You can really find QMPs in this area without too much problem. But because the insurance typically doesn't pay for it for just that purpose, it was difficult to find an affordable one.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So at this point, I don't know, is it fair to say that flower really is your preferred method?
It is really my preferred method. It is what I know best.
Right.
I would love to be able to afford the topical creams, but they're quite pricey right now, so I'm going to wait for that price to go down.
Right. Well, and we understand also that good things are afoot with regard to the pricing. So please stay tuned to Salt Lake City News for that continuing story.
I will too. Yeah.
Excellent. So how does your family feel about your using medical cannabis? I mean, what do you say to them, Mica, when you explain?
Well, I was really surprised by my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few siblings that are active in the LDS Church and have participated in even as a secretary in the bishopric. And his son had died when he was 8 years old. He had some brain damage when he was born. And he had seizures all day long, every day. And they had actually considered going out of state. They had weighed that option and chose not to. But their doctor had actually recommended it. Her pediatrician said, if you want to try it, I'll help you find someone out of state. So I was really surprised by his reaction. I haven't been really vocal with my family too much, but to find when I was gathering signatures, I don't think any of my siblings had a problem with it at all. My children, my adult children,
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of them is very, very proud of me for my journey. And he has gotten a medical card. Another one of my children he's not vocal about what I've done, but he also has a medical cannabis card. And I have another child that my eldest, I raised my children that this is bad stuff.
Really? Oh, wow. What a reversal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I raised my children. This was bad stuff. I was the mom that when I found out that a friend was smoking marijuana, I took one of my children to the doctor and I said, well, we're going to find out if you're participating or not to get a drug test. I raised them to be anti-marijuana. That's the way I raised them.
And what would you say to your older self or your younger self now, Mica? Had you known what you know now about cannabis, do you feel you would have still urged them away from it?
Because they were because they were teenagers.
Oh, understood.
Yeah. I think my younger self, knowing what I know now, would probably do the same thing because of the law. And I don't think that it is a good choice for teenagers. This is, illegal for one. And I do think that it affects teenage brains. I really do.
Sure.
So I think I would make the same decision. I just wouldn't be as judgmental about it. Now, if you could guarantee that your teenagers were going to experiment with only marijuana, that would actually be a better choice, in my opinion, than experimenting with alcohol. But if a teenager is going to experiment with marijuana, they're going to experiment with alcohol. So that's just kind of a fact, in my opinion.
I think most teens are like that.
Yeah.
All right. It's one of the defining characteristics of being a teen, I hope.
Yeah, I think it is.
Wow. So when you find yourself talking to friends and family about medical cannabis, when you were out getting signatures, what sort of things would you say?
To the public or to my family?
Public.
To the public, I would tell the opiate stories. I would tell the heroin stories. I would tell my husband's story. I would tell them. And the majority of the public knew people. I didn't have to tell a lot of people anything about it. They knew. One of my favorite experiences was a semi, with a trailer just pulled over, ran back to me, and he says, I want this legal for my son. He has seizures, and I want this. And so I started really doing it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Yeah.
So would you characterize yourself as a medical cannabis advocate?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
That's pretty cool. Is there anything else you'd care to share with us about this interesting tale of yours?
Well, I'll tell you, the political aspects were really, I didn't know much about politics when I started this. And so going through the process, going through Capitol Hill, talking to people when they were talking to legislators when they were discussing the compromise, politics is dirty. I learned that. But the most important thing I learned is that people can make a difference. People can make a difference. If we unite, we can make a difference.
A positive difference at that.
Yes, yes. And we also, and I started carrying Medicaid, the expanded Medicaid, and we did that too.
Oh, wow.
So the most exciting thing to me really was to learn more about politics and to find out that citizens can make a difference. The other exciting thing to me was the change in my husband, obviously.
Right.
And I
How
was
would you
really
compare the
shocked
before and after?
that it worked for me.
Oh, all right. So regarding your husband's health and his experience with cannabis, what was his before and after like? Cannabis.
Night and day. At night, if he didn't take his medication, when he went in his bed, he would end up, and I didn't realize it at the time. The doctor says, take this, and so he did. He would sit and just pass out. Sometimes if he was standing up, he would just pass out. And he was out. And now that I look back on it, I think how scary. That was near an overdose. When you can't wake somebody up. He was also very, very, very angry. I think people don't realize when you're on opiates for that many years, you just end up with the same problems as abusers do. He was very angry. He had said that the only emotion that he could feel before was anger. And after getting off the opiates, he was a totally different person. He was just more involved in life. He was my husband again. And he was able to have a better quality of life. He was doing more. He was happier. He was calmer. His quality of life really, really went
So this is a wellness story for both of you, not just you.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. I just can't say enough the difference it made in him. And like I said, I don't know that I've learned to use it for pain, but I don't know that all of my forward momentum was probably being helped by cannabis. My lack of anxiety, being able to get out in public, and at first I was just embarrassed to hold that sign, but I overcame that, and because it was so important to me.
So at the time, what was it was it your meeting with Pam that got you involved? Was that the moment, the spark?
No. I ran into her while I was doing my own thing.
Understood.
Yeah.
So
Just all
what
by
was it
myself.
that inspired you to get out and help the cannabis proposition move forward?
The law.
The law.
The
Okay,
law.
as soon as that's right,
Mhm.
you mentioned that. My bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He was on his way to wellness.
Mm.
So, yeah, but I wanted to be legal. I wanted him to be legal. I
Right.
wanted it legal.
And
People
now it
were
is?
doing it. Yeah. People were treating themselves, and they have the right to treat themselves.
Mm.
And it just needed to be legal. It's not as scary as it started out in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. It's not like that.
Mm.
It's not addictive. I mean, people can be addicted to
Anything.
anything.
Right?
Yeah. And there are people that will abuse it because that's the nature of people. But for those of us who want it for wellness, who are happy with their results,
Mm-hmm.
we have a right to be legal. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, Mica, I would like to warmly thank you again for sharing some of your story with Salt Lake City News today.
Okay.
Have a lovely
Thank you.
afternoon. My pleasure.
I just did want to do a call out if we have time.
Of course.
One of the questions I saw that you asked a lot of people was who they admire.
Yeah, who do you idolize? Yeah.
Yes. And I do have to say Pam Harrison, but more so as her lifelong activism really inspired me. But the one person that really impressed me the most, and everybody's impressed with Mario, so, but the person who impressed me the most is Tiffany Malo.
Hmm.
She had a son that was dropped from a pain clinic, and he ended up with a drug addiction, if I recall correctly. But oh my gosh, Tiffany was, no matter who you were, where you were, if they said we need more votes in Cache Valley, she was there. She would drive from Saratoga Springs, her and her son, put themselves up in a hotel in so many parts of the state. When she started out on her own as well, as far as I know, she was taking personal responsibility to go to these places, and she really impressed me weekend after weekend after weekend, and I was really excited to be able to work with her at times. Yeah.
Awesome. Tiffany Malo, you said?
Yes.
Is that right? Excellent.
Yes.
Well, we'll definitely have to get in touch with Tiffany.
Yeah, she is really got a story, yeah.
Awesome. Well, so have you.
Mine's simple. Well,
Right?
mine's simple, but yeah.
Well, thank you again for sharing it with us.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
And
Take it
you have
easy.
a good day.
Likewise.
All right.